threat of disaster is never pleasant.
Welcome to the Casual Preppers Podcast.
These safety measures are essential.
The only place for prepping, survival, and entertainment.
This will be your source of survival instructions and information. Every member of the family must be coached in the business of survival.
Here are your hosts, Cam and Kobe.
Hey guys, subscribe to our podcast.
Yeah.
Gonna sound like all those youngsters on YouTube.
I know. Yeah.
Hit subscribe. Hit subscribe. Like they're
Is that what they
eating
do?
the mic. Yeah. My kids listen and watch too many of those.
Do they?
But hey,
I don't get to see those as much.
yeah. Well, be glad.
It's mostly Taylor Swift in my house that I have to deal with.
Maybe that's not bad.
No. Yeah, Cam, what do we got today, man?
Yeah. So we have a pretty cool little question and not question answer. Sorry.
No.
We're doing some. Oh my gosh, it's got question and answer up there. So we talked with Toolman Tim.
That's right.
We've talked with him before. This guy has experienced life, man. He has taken normal jobs just like every one of us, and then started from scratched, moved away from home where he grew up and started different businesses. Yeah. The dude knows a lot about surviving off the grid. He, talks about generators on his podcast. He talks about like tools and different things that can kind of just help you through every day. We thought we'd spend some time, ask him some questions, and so I think you guys will enjoy.
Absolutely.
He had, the dude really does have some different takes on things that I don't think I've heard from other.
And he's Canadian. That's why, probably.
I think so. It's a whole different freaking world up there.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are doing up there in Canada, but it's different.
Yeah,
it's just different.
It's just weird, man.
It's just weird.
Lots of comedians and
that's true. Huh?
Lots of
hockey.
Yeah, hockey.
Gravy on your fries.
Yep.
Before we get to that, though, guys, I got to tell you about Rhino Ready. Pre-kitted bug-out bags are usually ill-equipped one-stop shops that lack the attention to detail of a custom loadout. Not the case over at Rhino Ready, the truest purveyors of kick-ass survival packs and gear badassery. Their founder, Michael, spent years designing a modular bug-out bag that combined critical survival supplies with performance build quality. After launching on Kickstarter, it took many sleepless nights tinkering on weight and distribution, prototype testing, and in-person manufacturer visits to bring their products to life. They sell an absolute beast of a pack called the Companion, which you can get fully kitted or you can just build out the pack however you see fit with your own gear. It's a rad bag. So whether it's to supplement your existing setup or a gift for a friend or a loved one, you cannot go wrong with Rhino Ready. Go to their website, rhinoready.com. You're going to enter our code, Cam. That's Cam and Kobe are the best.
Should be easy to remember.
Really easy to remember.
You're already thinking it.
Because it's something you're thinking all the time. Right?
Right.
Like, you're thinking about it right now.
I am.
Yeah, your wife is. My wife is.
When I'm heading back to the house, I'm always like, Cam and Kobe are the best.
They are the best. Yeah, there's like, how do you deny that? So that's going to be the code when you're over at rhinoready.com, and that's RINO ready.com. You're going to get $100 off kitted companions. That's freaking insane. That's $100, Cameron, along with 25% off everything else in the store, plus free shipping to anywhere in the USA. Sorry, Tim, not to the Canadas. All right. So go to rhinoready.com. Use our code. What's the code, Cam?
Do you remember? And Kobe are the best.
Cam and Kobe are the best. $100 off. So that's exciting. Thank you, Rhino Ready, for making this possible. And here is our good friend, Toolman Tim. Cameron, we are so freaking excited because we got a good buddy of ours from up north.
Yep.
Right?
The northern country of Canada.
That's right, man. We got Toolman Tim. Welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Hey, is the signal coming through? It's all coming on carrier pigeon straight from the North Pole down. So
we had a rough go getting you on here, and I think it's because it hit the border and there's customs and all.
Yeah, you had to go through that.
Translating from American to Kanuckistan, it's tough, man. I'm telling you, I run into it all the time.
Yeah,
good to be here.
Yes, we appreciate you coming on. So there's probably a lot of our listeners who don't know who you are. So please give them a quick rundown of you, what you do, and how you got into all the fun stuff that you do up there in Canada.
Sure. Well, I'm Toolman Tim, so that should cover. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
No. So my wife and I, and we have 5 kids, 3 of whom are adults and moved out at this point. But we're from Canada, obviously, and times are tough up here. You know, we have to deal with Justin Trudeau and the whole works. But no, we many years ago when we first got married, we were very much, broke as a joke. Didn't have 2 pennies to rub together, and so. We didn't call it prepping at that time. We just called it surviving, right? Yeah. And we'd have things like the toilet paper closet, where the entire closet would be full of 32 packs of Walmart toilet paper because we always wanted to make sure that the kids would have that, Yeah. And we'd always, stock up the shelves. When we first got married, we were homesteading a little bit with chickens and eggs and goats. The whole works, But for us, where we grew up, I grew up on the East Coast, Nova Scotia, and in a community that wasn't super rich, super well-to-do, and it was just a way of life. You just learned how to get by. So we learned how to squeeze pennies, and part of that was things like if I needed a new whippersnipper, it wasn't new. I got it out of the dumpster from the hardware store where I worked. I learned how to rebuild a carburetor. We wanted new windows in the house we eventually bought. Well, guess what? I had to do that. If we wanted siding on the house a few years ago, I had to do that. And that was okay. I always say that abject poverty is a really good motivator. And that's really what got us into prepping. And then it just sort of built over time. We realized, hey, you know what? Just a few jars of pickles in a cabinet, not enough to survive the apocalypse. As much as I might have thought it was, I also had 3 jars of strawberry jelly. So there was that. But yeah, so we would just kind of continued on. We moved 10 years ago. I hopped on a plane with less than 0 money in my pocket to go to Alberta. Got a job working in the oil patch and moved the entire family out here. A year later, the entire economy collapsed. And so we were like, we're going to tuck tail. Nope. So we started into the entrepreneurial route. And so for me, one of the big pillars of preparedness is entrepreneurship. And that has, I want to make it sound like it was this real smooth transition. But I started my business, and a year in, I gave up and went back working for the man because I just wasn't making enough money. And I just didn't quite know what I was doing. And then gradually started building up some, I used to do everything, like picking up dog poo, washing windows, whatever needed to be done. I was the jack of all trades. Got into property management, and now, almost a decade later, we've got 4 successful businesses that we've built off of, many other preppers that I've listened to and learned from. I've kind of taken those, and now for the last 4 years, I've been running Toolman Tim's workshop, hopefully sharing that with other people. I go around and speak at events down in the States. I'm going to be at Prepper Camp in Saluda, Self-Reliance Festival in Camden, and the Midwest Preparedness Project in Kansas this year. So that's where I'm at.
Man, that's,
so cool.
Lots of experiences. We talk about the personal apocalypse. You're like the, spokesperson for that, of like going through like how it is, the things you run into in life and have to work around. So,
and you know what? To be absolutely honest and fair too, a lot of those were our own doing. Most of a lot of what we end up doing in our lives is self-inflicted, right?
Yeah, sure.
And eventually, and I don't know, we've talked about it many times, what the switch was that flicked to change our mind. And I think a lot of it was hopping on that plane and moving, 5,000 kilometers or 3,500 miles in freedom units to a whole different world with a different mindset. And it kind of shakes you up and gets you going,
Yeah, how many 5.56 is that on end to end? I don't even know. It's a long ways. Yeah. So like one of the things that I always love seeing some of your videos and stuff on Instagram or wherever it is, it's tools. I'm not the guy who knows the most about tools, so I love seeing a guy who understands all that stuff. And I think it's really important, like you said, to be self-sufficient, to be able to fix the things you need to fix, especially maybe in some sort of an SHTF scenario. It's not like I can call Toolman Tim and have him come over, pick up my dog poop. I need to be able to do that myself, right? Whatever tools need to be done, I need that. So could you please tell us, you've reviewed and talked about so many tools over the years. Can you give us a few that you would recommend to every prepper out there? So a prepper out there is trying to build up their tools supply or whatever it is. What are a few that you would say you've got to have this?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would. So for those who don't know how these interviews work, when you come on to prestigious late night talk shows like Casual Preppers,
Yeah.
you get warmed up and they give you your questions ahead of time. So I made a list in case anybody wanted to know, because if I didn't, you would ask me and I would have 3. And then for the next 4 days, I'd think, oh my goodness, I should have mentioned this. I should, what I mean? So,
We do. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a yellow and black guy. I love DeWalt. And so, but I'm a bigger fan of standardizing on a single battery platform. So whatever platform you have, get yourself one of those inflation stations. That I've given a couple of those away at events and everybody absolutely loves them, but they will blow up, on a 5 amp hour battery, 3 or 4 full-size truck I should say about 3 full-size truck tires with one of those.
Wow.
They're fast. They're fairly compact, but they're built you could run it over with a tank. So you always think, I don't know if I need an inflator. You need an inflator, trust me.
Yeah.
How often,
Yeah.
right? Everybody says learn how to plug a tire what Well, that's all good and well, but what can you're not going to blow it up with your lips, right?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It's
So true.
Such a simple one that I love. Another one, so I do a presentation called Preparedness, the art of home maintenance when help isn't around the corner.
I like that.
And I'm doing that at Prepper Camp this year. And one of my big recommendations is shark bite fittings. You guys ever use those?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so if you go into your basement and you see a little pinhole leak and water just spraying everywhere, you can cut that out if it's copper or plastic. And these shark bite fittings are brass with springs and rubbers on them, and they just pop, and they're done. So even I can use them. They're that simple. Yeah. I was going to say even Cam and Colby, but you guys are, you know how it is. So
No, I don't know how it is. That's the whole thing. I've never used one of those.
We finished our basement, and I was, somebody had told me about those, and I was pretty amazed. I'm like, holy crap! Like, genius design just makes repair of something like that so much easier.
And they're not cheap. You wouldn't want to plumb your
They're
whole house
not.
with them.
The only thing I was gonna say is like they're a little more pricey, but for the time that it takes to fix something, that's worth it.
Oh, and you just think what it costs. I mean, say a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, Super Bowl Sunday.
That's exactly
you
what
got
would happen.
A big leak in your basement. What's it going to cost to get a plumber to, pry him away from the TV and his beer on a Sunday, right? So
Yeah.
it's worth having. Waggo nuts. If do you ever do any electrical work?
A little bit here and there.
So, them stupid little twist on barrettes that, and if you don't hold them right, or if they have, if you got stranded and they fall apart, right? Because anyway, these are these little squares. They have little orange tabs. Stick the wire in, snap it down, and you're done.
Oh,
And
wow.
I've seen
they're
those.
A little more money, but I use them for everything now. And you can get little packs of 30 or 40 on Amazon, and you put 2, 3, or 4 wires all in at once, done, and you can actually hang a little light fixture off it. I wouldn't recommend it, but they're sturdy.
Wow.
Gosh dang it! I just had crawled up into my attic, and it's like 150 degrees up there, and I was trying to line the wires up, and, because we wired a light into the bathroom up there, and man, I wish I would have done this 1 week earlier because I almost died up there.
I know. It's okay. I promise, Another one, First Alert Fire Spray. I love this stuff. You ever seen that before?
I have seen that.
Did we get that in some?
I don't know if we've gotten that one specifically, but I have seen the fire spray stuff.
So, everybody says you need to have a fire extinguisher around, right? Most people go out and buy one big, $30 or $40, whatever it is, or maybe an expensive one. And then you put it somewhere and you think, where should it be? I'm not really sure. I'll pick a spot. And then you forget where it is, or it's never where you need it. I like this stuff. It's in Canada. It's like, a little less than 20 a can. You buy it. I think it's got a 5-year shelf life. We've used it a ton for flare-ups on the barbecue, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But what I like about it is you can buy 4 or 5 of them and keep them everywhere. One under the kitchen sink, one by the barbecue, one by the furnace.
That makes more sense, yeah.
Because and I've had a couple of guys who balk at it and they're like, it's not a real fire extinguisher. Yes, but having 5 of those around the house is better than one fire extinguisher that you don't know how to use, or you don't know where it is, or it hasn't been tested since bell bottoms were installed the first time.
So this is this the one that's not like spraying powder everywhere, right? It's different, correct?
It is. It's a liquid. It cleans up.
Yeah.
Well, it basically evaporates.
Yeah.
And between you, well, no, it is. It's food safe too. So one time I sprayed it on a really good steak, and I took the chance and ate the steak anyway. But it was good.
And you're still here.
Well,
Best
I've
steak
eaten
you've
worse
ever
over
had.
the years. So
Yeah, that's the thing that's cool about them is you're not making this gigantic mess. Anytime you pull out one of those other, big red fire extinguishers, it is a mess.
Yeah.
And those are less messy, which is pretty cool.
100%.
I think, like you said too, it's hard to like find a place to put one of those. The fire extinguisher, and it's like I'll put it on the middle of the dining table and like put flowers around it because there's really not a good place for it. And it, one of those little ones. I swear I have one though that we got.
We've got
from
a couple. I don't know what's that exact brand.
Yeah, but maybe
we have
similar,
some
too. Okay, yeah, that makes.
There's
a lot
another
of sense.
brand. It's a blue can, same stuff. I did a video when my girls were 10. And I set a fire in the backyard. Don't recommend this. And I had them both put it out. I'm like, here you go. What is this? And it's spray. And they put it out just like that. So it works
Yeah, that's great.
beautifully.
Having them learn how to do something like that.
Do you want another one?
Yeah, absolutely. Bring it on.
Okay. Klein voltage tester pen. So this thing is, so I'm almost afraid to admit this, but for many years, when I'd go to do electrical, I'd play the game where I'd flick the breaker. Is it on? Is it off? I don't know.
Exactly.
So then you go, touch it with something that's a little conductive. If it sparks, I better go back and get the other one, right? So this change, just to eliminate all the guesswork out of electrical. And everybody says, always make sure and still touch it with something to ground it. But that thing is wonderful. It's like $30. You point it at a wire, it beeps if it's live. It doesn't beep if it's dead. You plug it into a socket, it beeps. Same thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. One of the most important things, the number one rule of survival is don't end up dead, right? So if you end up dead, you've broke that. So one of those is great. And pro tip, label your electrical panel. I was like 18 months living in our house before we did it.
Yeah.
But, if you've got a little fire or you got something going on and you need to turn something off in a hurry,
you need to know which one you're turning off.
Yeah, it just makes
Instead
it.
of just click, 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 click,
Take
click,
out
click,
the
click,
guesswork
click,
out,
then
just
walk
turn it all
upstairs in the dark.
We've all been there.
Yep.
I think we've all been there. That's awesome.
I got another, the Go V temperature sensors. These are little white boxes,
Haven't seen
and
that.
they're not technically made for way below freezing temperatures, but I've tested them for 3 years now in my deep freezes, and they run on Wi-Fi, so I could flick on right now and check the temperature in all 3 of my deep freezes at home. And
that is
they're
a good
about
idea.
35 a piece American, and they hook up, like I said, through Wi-Fi, and you can just log in and check your sensors anytime. And it keeps a running total of the temperatures, so you never, ever have to worry about, you still could, but we have a lot of meat. We buy a side of beef every year. That's a huge investment. You want to make sure you protect it.
Did you this summer
Yes.
that actually happened to us. My kids kicked the plug out, didn't know, and then came back and all of our freezer meat and frozen pizza and everything was done for. So does it alert you? Does it alert you that the temperature, like, does it have a range or something that
Yes, it
gives you?
can.
Okay.
So I love
pretty
these
cool.
things, and I've used them for years. The problem is the app that comes with it is not ideal. As you can imagine, a lot of these imported products have apps that are less than user-friendly. So when I mentioned it's not technically designed for freezing temperatures, it has an alert range above or below, and it gets really close to the, your typical cold temperature in a freezer. So I like to use these as a monitor. You can, but you have to go into the calibration and move it a few degrees to make sure that it won't
Otherwise, it
always,
would go off at a temperature all
always
the time.
at the deep freeze. But I love them. For me, it's good enough. I just, every couple of days I'll check it, because unless your house is complete, like unless it's the middle of the absolute summer, even a day will be good,
I like
sweet.
that. That's a great one. I need to get one of those too. So
those
bad.
are all completely different things than I would have thought of. I'd been like, vice grips done.
Yeah.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, buddy. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I want to move on to the next question. We've had some discussions before. We love films. We love movies, right?
Yes, sir.
That's something we have in common. We have a question that we ask everybody at the end. We'll get to that, but I want to ask a specific question in the movie genre. What is your favorite, like, SHTF movie of all time? Like apocalyptic, that one that maybe it's just the funnest, or maybe there's the most lessons from it. Whatever it is, what is that and why?
In my typical fashion, I couldn't give you just one. I had to pick two.
Okay. All right. That's
But
good.
I will say, my wife's here with me, and so you guys, you ever have those? They call them the remote drop movie. If you're flipping through the channels and you see a movie you like, for her it's 2012 or The Day After Tomorrow. Any of those? Is it Roland Emmerich? Is that his name?
Yep, Roland Emmerich. Yep.
Yeah. So any of those, and we've watched them 1,000 times. But my two picks. First is 1962 Panic at Year Zero.
Oh man. That's a great film. I have seen that film.
I don't know what that one is.
Weirdly enough. So that's the one where they're like out of town, like camping or something, right?
Yes.
And then a bomb goes off in LA or something, right?
A legit nuclear, multiple,
I've never heard of that
I think
one.
it's multiple explosions. And when you watch it, I mean, you know the term prepper porn? They use that,
oh,
right?
Yeah.
We can use that here. I wasn't anyway.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's the original. I mean, if you look at that movie, it sets the blueprint for every SHTF book and movie that comes after it.
Yeah.
You've got a father, he's got his family, the world goes to hell in a handbasket just like that, and he has to make that instant decision. Do we roll up and die, or do we go and he goes to the local grocery store, the local hardware store, stock up on supplies like that, and then they go live in the woods. It's like every prepper's dream, right? They live in a cave, they fight off bad guys. I don't want to, I shouldn't. Anyway,
I'll have
if
to
you
check
haven't,
that one out. I haven't even, how old is the movie?
It's from the 60s.
1962.
It is from the 60s? Oh
It's
my
black
gosh.
and white, right?
Black and white. Yep.
black and white,
And,
yeah.
I've never seen that.
I can't remember the main actors. The boy is quite a famous actor, but I can't think of who his name is.
Man,
who
I
he is
couldn't.
now.
Yeah, I
I'm gonna
saw
have
it
to check that
probably
out. That sounds pretty sweet.
5 or 6 years ago. I was like, oh man, this is pretty awesome for.
I've
for a movie
watched
from
it
the
like
60s.
3 times the last couple of years. They even start a fire in the interstate so that they can stop traffic to get across. You know,
That's
it's like
right. Yeah.
all of the
my
tropes that
gosh.
you see even in like War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, that kind of stuff all started back there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well,
And
yeah, I'm going to have to check that
based
one
on
out. I've
another
never seen
one
it.
Is Trigger Effect from 1996. Have you guys seen that one?
No.
Okay.
The name sounds
Got
familiar, but I don't think I've seen
Elizabeth
it.
Shue and Kyle MacLachlan in it. And so, yeah, it's good. Now, it's all right.
I had a thing
when
for
you bring
Elizabeth
it up,
Shue when I was
the
younger.
reason it's got a soft spot in my heart is because that's when we fell in love with movies, was in the 90s, right? I was, 14 in 95, 94, 95. Yeah. Have you seen it?
No.
He's looking it up as we go. So
Yeah,
No,
I'm looking
I don't.
it up.
I don't recognize it either.
No.
it's really good. If you go back and watch it now, it's full of 90s cheese. You know, that kind of
I love
almost
that, though.
Yeah, seriously.
video look. You know how everything in the 90s had a video look to it?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really bright because it takes place on a sunny day in the suburbs. The power goes off, radio, TV, phone, everything's dead. And you ever seen the Monsters Do on Maple Street from Twilight Zone, where the aliens turn the lights on and off all the time? And if you haven't,
Yes, I think so. They all
So
felt
this-
the same to me. It's
this
hard
movie
to
was
remember.
based on that episode.
Oh, okay,
And
cool. Yeah.
So it's basically a husband and a wife with a kid who has asthma, of all things, of course, because that's
course.
become a
Oh,
joke
yeah, every
now,
time.
too. And they have no idea. And the whole movie, you never know what's going on, why it happened, and it's just these people trying to exist, survive, and figure out what the hell happened. And it's got a soft spot because I watched it back. It's one of the very first ones that really got me going.
Sure.
And it's a deep cut. Not everybody's seen it, and it's worth watching.
I'm putting that one on my list because
Yeah.
I've never heard of it or seen it. So
Yeah, me either. So that's a good one to.
you got 2 to put on your list.
I
now.
do. I
Man,
do.
That's
a
awesome.
lot of movie watching.
I know. I like that though. Those are different picks. That's
Yeah.
what I love. I love it. I love hearing different views.
I brought my
Yeah,
A
that's
game,
very,
baby.
very
Everything's
different.
all
It's
different
nothing-
picks. I'm like, I got to be odd and weird this time. So
No, that's
right.
good. Well, you're
Yeah.
from Canada, so I understand. Just kidding. So, okay, next question. You talk a lot about like generators. I've seen some of your videos that talks about that, and I often get a question even, day to day. Some people will ask me like, well, what kind of generator do you recommend? And do you, is there a fuel type that you prefer? So I'm asking you that question. What type of generator, maybe what output would you recommend if somebody was looking into buying a generator, and do you prefer a fuel type?
Sure. I really prefer random number generators, but no, sorry.
yeah.
Every time, whenever I do keyword research for my YouTube videos, that always comes up. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Right.
yeah, no. So first off, the generator you can afford, number one, is probably the best generator you can get.
Great.
Because two things. I mean, you don't want to buy junk, but number two, you don't want to put yourself in the poorhouse to buy a generator you can't afford. You know, you get it. I'm sure you guys get it a lot too. Somebody message you and they're worried about whatever the latest news story is, and they want to spend everything they have to go be prepared because they're sure the collapse is coming tomorrow, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I'm a big fan of your preps making your life better no matter what happens, because up until this point, things have been, I mean, I don't want to say going good, but we haven't had a collapse yet, right? So
Yes.
what happens
We say
if you
that
go
all the
cash
time.
in your,
It's so funny
your
that-
retirement savings and you've got nothing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So the generator you can afford is important. Number two, multi-fuel, in my mind, is where it's at. I mean, I've got a tri-fuel Furman generator. So that means propane, natural gas, and gasoline.
Propane.
Now, if you have any option at all, I would say, propane and propane accessories. Where we
Oh
going to
no,
do
protein.
Protein. That was a
That was
fuel type
something in our-
we made up a long time ago for some reason.
It came out weird, and we just went with it.
Yeah.
That's okay. And rest in peace, Dale Gribble as well.
Yeah,
right?
man.
So-
He died. That's crazy.
Yeah, he did. And the first animated prepper, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss it. So.
Probably.
Yeah, so-
Who knows?
Multi-fuel for sure. But if you can, I'm a huge fan of getting locked into natural gas. Now, as soon as I say that, I invariably get somebody on YouTube who says, the Chinese will shut it off or whatever.
It'll
You know what I mean? They
rupture,
just
yeah.
pick something and they're like, so I mean, all I can do is base it on my life. And so the last 10 years we've lived in Alberta, we get 1 or 2 power outages a year. And in those 10 years, we have never had a single natural gas outage.
Yes.
Realistic, right? That's
Realistic.
what I like.
Now-
I mean, you're using common sense. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
I mean, because
I don't know. You ask my wife, she'll tell you I'm not too common or sensible.
because we get the exact same comments. Well, that's not going to work if it's a worldwide EMP or
Yeah, yeah.
what if
It's
the
like-
Yellowstone volcano
but
goes out?
realistically-
That's not going to help you. I'm like, I get that, but again, I've been here for 42 years. That's never happened. I'm going off of we've had power outages in the past, and this
Yeah.
is what's worked. So that's what you got to go off of. You know what I mean? It's just like this
100%.
common sense that.
I mean, we could wake up tomorrow and the sun doesn't come up, but it has
Sure.
for the last 800 billion years or whatever it happens to
Exactly.
be. So
Yeah.
now that doesn't mean, I'm a big fan of 2 is 1, 1 is none, 3 is a guarantee. So I also keep 30-pound tanks of propane because they store really, really well. I also keep 12 5-gallon gas cans with a number on them, 1 through 12 for each month of the year. I stabilize them with PRI-G. It's a product that is the best stabilizer on the market. It's the only one that'll actually bring back old gas to life. So some of that stuff you saw in The Last of Us that was completely unrealistic,
Yeah.
you could do it if, but so yeah, I would say have some gasoline, have some propane. If you can get locked into natural gas, wonderful. But don't let that be your only
Yeah.
resort. Have, and make sure you cycle through those gasoline cans and be careful where you store them. They do swell up. I mean, I keep them in my garage. Some people say, or garage, whatever. But
I was wondering what you were talking about. Yeah.
yeah, I know you were. I have to at some point, Google Voice is going to get good enough that we can have conversations between Canadians
Yeah.
and Americans. And
This is all digitally translated with AI, so thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And one other quick thought, if you don't have a generator and you can't afford to get a generator, or say you're sitting there and you're thinking, the power's out, there's no generators left, go down to the truck stop and where they have all that 12-volt nice stuff that you can buy for truckers, go get yourself a 1,500-watt inverter. You can probably get it for $150. Hook it up to the battery in that $50,000 generator you have parked in your driveway, your vehicle. And as long as you're not like some people's significant others. The gas tank should be at least half full because I've heard you guys tell that story before. And I'm not slamming your wives, not at all, because we do what we can.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you have a plug that will run any single 1,500-watt, anything that'll plug into a normal plug at home, into that. The beauty of that is people say, well, I can't run my fridge, my freezer, and my sump pump. Not at once, but you can certainly cycle through. Plug your fridge in for an hour, plug your freezer in for an hour, plug your pump in for an hour. So
That's
if you're in
awesome.
a bad spot, that's a good way to go.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you
like
got a
that.
generator sitting right there,
Exactly.
motor and everything.
Good answer.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Worked hard on that.
Now we are going to the two questions that we ask every guest that comes on. These are the most important questions, so get yourself ready.
Yes,
I want you to really think about
I'm
this.
sitting. I'll sit down. Oh wait, I already am. So we're good.
Yeah.
there. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Put your shorts on. We're gonna do this. What conspiracy theory do you find the most interesting or entertaining, and why?
Well, again, I picked a couple. So let me give you my my runners up first. But
Okay, runners up.
were you guys ever Art Bell fans back in the '90s? Or I think we've talked a bit about him before.
Yeah, I've heard it. I wasn't like a regular listener or anything, but
You know Mel's Hole. Have you ever heard of Mel's Hole?
yes, yeah.
It sounds really dirty. Like
that was up in the Northwest in the United States, right? Some hole a dude found in his backyard or something.
apparently,
about that one.
and I'm 99% sure as the episodes went on, it got pretty funny. But my goodness, those first two episodes were almost believable. So, for those who don't know, it's supposedly a giant hole with no ending that a dude found in the backwoods of Idaho, Washington. I don't remember, somewhere in there anyway. And the neighbors would just come by, throw their garbage in, and they threw a dog in, and you came back like Pet Cemetery. And apparently, eventually, the government took over the land. But if you want to look it up and have a fun time, Mel's Hole is hilarious.
Mel's Hole. No, I didn't.
Yeah, I've
we
actually
haven't talked about that.
I've kind of had that on a mental list for episodes.
Possible episodes?
but there's
Haven't
not a
looked into
ton
that
of
one.
there's not a
Yeah.
ton of information, so it's.
He supposedly moved to Australia and found a hole there too at one point.
Oh yeah, well it's the other side. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that was really quick.
I know, man. I know. That's why we're professionals over here, man.
So I was a kid of the 90s, of course, and I grew up watching X-Files. And I used to take out the UFO books from the library all the time. But for me, things like Roswell and the Arizona Lights, love them. I know it's cliche, but we're going to do an episode this year. Art used to do ghost to ghost episodes where people would call them with paranormal. We're going to do one of those this year. I probably won't call it ghost to ghost because of, copyright.
Sure. That's funny. I was the same way in elementary school. My very first book report was on aliens. I remember I was like in fifth grade. It was on aliens, man. And it's just never left me since.
No, it's always been fun.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
my
Yeah.
absolute favorite is one you guys have covered before. I went down a Reddit rabbit hole probably 7 years ago. And I don't know why this one clicked with me like it did, but the Max Headroom incident is my all-time friggin' favorite.
So bizarre.
It's so stupid. It's so simple. It makes no sense. I don't know why it's intriguing. I've done an episode on the podcast as well. And I would just love to know who it was and why they did it. That's all.
Yeah.
It's so stupid, but it's one of those mental worms that just won't leave you.
It's just a beautiful story, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
And there probably would never be a why did they do it. They just, we got in.
exactly.
Let's just mess around. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That really is a great little conspiracy, man. That was a fun episode to do.
That was a fun episode. There was a lot of cool hackings of different radio stations and stuff that we
Did you
we
guys
talked about with it.
cover the HBO one? I just found out about an HBO one where you did. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and re-listen to that episode because that was a good episode. I like what you guys always do.
that was
super
fun,
interesting.
man. I don't know why that stuff is intriguing to me either. It's just like some idiot who, hacked the stream to the thing, but it's really fun.
Yeah, that one was cool.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are to the final question, which is again the most important question. What is your favorite movie of all time and why?
Oh, it's a tough
All
one.
time.
So, I would say, how most people say sequels are inferior to the original?
Yes.
Well, I would say you haven't seen the Twilight series because no, I'm just sorry.
Yeah.
No, so without a doubt, at all, it's Pulp Fiction.
Oh,
that is my
okay.
all-time favorite film. And
Wow.
they say, I remember hearing one time, the music and movies you watch when you're 14 kind of stick with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that movie, I was telling my wife, I've seen it so many times, I can't remember where I saw it for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
But most of those films we saw on VHS at my friend Lynn's house, sitting on an old ratty couch with a floor model color TV. You could barely tell, you know what I mean? At then you thought, this is the best life in movies you'll ever get, right?
Absolutely.
But when I saw that movie told out of sequence, and I didn't realize that, I was 14. So the violence, the swearing, the story, the subject matter, the visuals. I just didn't realize that film could be that good.
Yeah.
And I've seen, I would say that Inglourious Bastards came really close to recapturing that magic. That's his second favorite, my second favorite of his. And then the rest are all kind of okay after that. I like them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Man, Tarantino does some stuff, man, doesn't he? He's
unique.
He's one of a kind.
His dialogue, beyond anything else, you ask him how he writes good dialogue, and he says, I just put two people in a room and get them talking. And, if I could write dialogue 10% that good, I'd be,
my gosh, yeah.
That movie
true.
just
I can
has
see how
sat with
that-
me. And I've seen tons of other movies. I've got a top 100 list somewhere, but there's nothing better. In my mind, that was the pinnacle of cinema for me.
Nice, yeah. I mean, it just makes me want a
I know a
Royale
few
with cheese
people
right
that
now.
really like
You
that.
know?
Royale with cheese. Can I have a bit of that tasty beverage to wash down that big kahuna burger? Yeah.
I need a Royale with cheese, man. Yeah.
You know why they call it a Royale with cheese, right?
I don't know. No.
The metric system.
Oh, that's right. That makes sense. Man, no, that's a great pick, man. Yeah, Tarantino.
Yeah, I know that one's like, I have my cousin and stuff, like, I think that's his favorite. And yeah, it's just unique.
Yeah.
It's one of his strongest films for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be his strongest
Probably his
film.
best.
It's got to
Oh,
be.
yeah. I was so disappointed when he followed it up with Jackie Brown. I was like, really?
yeah,
What is this?
yeah.
But yeah, it really set with us, and we watched it so many times over the years. And I it's infinitely quotable. And I've introduced my daughters to it now, 14-year-old,
Yeah.
some of it anyway. The soundtrack, Charlotte loves the soundtrack. And it was just an all-around incredible piece of cinematic masterpiece.
Nice.
Well, and he says he's only making one more movie, right?
I know. And
That's the
I
plan.
dig it. I understand. I definitely appreciate that as opposed to, watching 78 washed up John Travolta direct to video
Sure.
on demand movies,
Sure, yeah. I suppose. It's just hard to watch somebody go in their prime and stop making films like that. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It is. And I respect him for it. I absolutely do, because I don't know if people were throwing, boatloads of money at me. I don't know if actually I was just reminded of the recruiting scene from Signs. Remember, he says,
Yes. Yeah.
He's like, shouldn't you? Yeah, anyway, you know what he says, but
Yes.
it just reminds me of that. I'm like, when people are
Licking your
throwing things
toes,
at you
yeah.
that are,
That's right.
sorry guys.
Beautiful.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Anything else, Cameron?
No, I
For-
think, man, we got a lot of unique answers, like good answers, stuff that kind of was different from what I've heard before.
Yeah.
So
That's why we brought the Canadian on, man.
That's why we- that's why we
that's what
do
it's
it.
all about,
All the boot is out in the boot. We're gonna go out in the boot. And we're gonna have some poutine and hunt us some moose.
Oh man,
Yep.
poutine is delicious.
As long as you
yeah.
eat it when it's fresh. If
Yeah,
you eat it when
I-
it's left over, it's not so good.
I went to Canada and I was like 18 and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? But I've wanted it ever since. Again, haven't been back though. So
I got to come down your guys' way at some point. Would you guys be up for doing an in-person interview sometime?
absolutely, man.
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
You just let us know. We'll figure
It
it
might
out.
not be till next year, but I'm
Okay.
I'm doing the whole. Yeah, I'm all over the place, so it'll be fun.
Sweet.
no, we are game.
Man, you're welcome in the studio at any time.
Yeah.
I would. Oh, that would really. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
absolutely.
Do I have to have a blindfold and a non-disclosure agreement?
Obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, I assumed. Yeah, that's how we do things up here. So I just figured it was the same down there.
Yeah. Well, man,
One
thank
more
you so
cool
much.
thing. Can I tell you one more cool?
For sure.
The other day, I'm here in Edmonton, so 3 hours away from home. I found the old civil defense bomb shelter here.
Oh,
so
nice.
it's all you can see is above ground, and it's all locked off. But I got some video and stuff, but it's still there. So anyway, I knew you
So
guys.
That kind of
cool.
stuff's, yeah.
Yeah, you need to post that up. I'd love to see that.
I will. I just haven't. My lazy butt hasn't edited it up yet.
Haven't
but I
got
will.
to it,
You'll
yeah.
see it. I want to go. I'm just going to go sit there and do a live episode sometime, and everybody will walk by and what the hell's that dude doing?
What is
Anyway.
going on?
Yeah.
That stuff is so interesting, man. Yeah.
It is.
is,
I'd love
yeah.
to see all the different ones in each
Yeah.
town. So cool.
So cool. Thanks, Tim. We appreciate you coming on. Again, tell everybody listening where they can find you.
Sure. I'm the easiest way is YouTube. If you search Toolman Tim on YouTube, you'll find me. I've got the Workshop podcast. My goodness, it's only been Workshop Radio for 100 episodes now. I rebranded to Workshop Radio.
Yeah.
And we just call it the soundtrack to getting shit done. So that's what we are. That's who we are. That's what I do. I try to empower people. I do a lot of talking on entrepreneurship and finding freedom through it. And of course, prepping and preparedness. And I've also been doing this really cool series on the history of modern preparedness, where we go back and we do a deep dive into a decade, talk about the thought, the thought leaders and influencers of that decade, and so come and find me. And if you're tired of listening to Cam and Colby, or you've got your fill, you're all the way up to their latest episode, and you want to fill your ear holes with me, feel free.
Nice. Yeah.
All right.
Sloppy seconds with Tim. That's how we do it. All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Anytime, brothers.
All right. Stay survived.